afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Propagandacast Addendum as we go through some more of those campaign scenarios where I've recently been tossing about there. I'm going to do these in a slightly different way because they're sort of split up a bit more, at least, a much more sort of broader spectrum. And I think I'd be wiser to go with, for example, North Africa into like Italy 1943 or Tunisia then into like Italy 1944 and Operation Dragoon. And already then it's like one of the bits there I'm sort of, already going, hang on a moment, Operation Dragoon, which had no relation to Italy whatsoever, was actually an operation meant to try and force away German troops from reinforcing into Normandy in the north. You want that to be part of an Italian campaign? I beg your pardon. I mean, that sort of highlights a bit, there seems to be a bit, overreaching there. I mean, even just going from Tunisia into 1943 into 1944 is actually quite a bit of broad there. I mean, honestly, one of the bigger issues with Communist too was it was such a broad, campaign. And just game, just tried to span too much time, too much terrain, which I felt led to, a very sloppy and unfocused campaign, with sort of weak narrative and overall just weak focus. So in that regard, their campaigns are just spanning several years, kind of run into that issue. I mean, one of the reasons why Communist run campaigns worked so well was they were all just very focused, Normandy, that was the first Communist one, just, the initial few days there, until, the Falaise Pocket as well, the first few weeks. Great. The the Panzer Elite campaign, that was also, very focused on. That was just, Operation Market Garden. Good stuff. British campaign, the Liberation of Caen. Again, very focused, concentrated stuff. The Tales of Valor campaigns, even shorter, but again, very concentrated stuff. And the problem with each of these three campaigns, I mean, is compared, or they're sort of, the sort of whole, North Africa into Italy stuff, and even Operation Dragoon is, they're spanning a much wider time period, but also much broader terrain, and that I think sort of leads to some issues campaign-wise, but also just multiplayer-wise, so they have to figure out, well, what do they want to stick in there. So now you go, I mean, I'd really just suggest to just stick to Italy, or they stick to North Africa and Tunisia, or obviously not Operation Dragoon. That just doesn't have enough meat on itself. I mean, that should be more like an expansion for like Communist too, like Operation Dragoon. Here's another campaign that honestly you probably don't care much about anyways, because barely anyone's heard much about Operation Dragoon, and not an awful lot actually happened there comparatively. So that's sort of, kind of the thing there. So I mean, you sort of stick to like Italy. I mean, again, 1943 to 44, maybe, again, you sort of go from Sicily into Anzio. You got, Monte Cassino and all that, the Gothic lines and Panther lines. Well, the Panther line is used in front, so never mind that. But, sort of a series of defensive lines, the liberation of Rome and one. I mean, that could actually, work out pretty well. I mean, I made a video, so that's actually what I would primarily suggest, coming for you to go for. That would be Italy, roughly 1933. But you can also push it into 1944, because also you still have a lot, sort of time period was a lot like there's a mix of equipment. You got Panzer IIIs, you got Lees, I think still M10s and new. You got the primary tank destroyers, a half track with an anti-tank unmounted on it. You sort of got a mix of equipment, newer stuff like the Panther Tigers, but they only just sort of recently arrived and they're pretty rare in Italy. So for example, those could just be bit more better balance, as they're going to be harder to get compared to just Panther Force, which then sort of be the bigger tank for the van, while they also have the Panzer III, with armoured skirts and whatnot. They could do all sorts of elite infantry, so sort of a variety of more unique elite units like the 44th, I think, Reichsgrenadier Division, for example, which is a unit that actually fought in Italy, and now it's actually an elite infantry division. So there are some things that could actually be used in Italy. Plus, again, the Italians, they have actually included, it's a good idea is actually to use the Italians more as a supporting force, because they didn't really fight as a coherent force on their own with most of the Germans around them, in part because they couldn't particularly do so, in part because the Germans wouldn't let them, because the Germans didn't trust them to fight competently. So that sort of was another reason, and that it's probably going to work out, I think, the best as well. In particular, once we hit Italy, because the Italians pretty much quickly turned sides. At which point you had sort of the Socialist Republic, the Italian Republic, whatever it was called there, but sort of mostly just fought bit here and there. Most have been the elite units like the paratroopers and whatnot. So again, that will make perfectly a lot of sense. So that's all, nice and down. Because sort of again, even just with Italy, you still have a lot of terrain to go through, because there's a big difference between, like, say, on southern Italy and just central Italy. Like, the terrain shifts quite a lot there, just in terms of climate and whatnot. So, over there, you could just get some pretty just big shifts, and that's just in Italy, which again is wild. I think just North Africa and Italy would just be overdoing it. I think it just into range that could lead them to have just, have to, like, cut some corners anyways, which again is kind of the issue because, I mean, Italy, North Africa is also just big chunks on their own. And I mean, just Italy, again, you could see, pop in, like, well, you obviously have the Germans, so you could pop in some more elite German units. But you also got the British, you got the Americans, you got colonial troops, all sorts there. You got the, Indian colonial troops, you got Australians, I believe. And so, all those sorts of things, as I mean, like, Italy's not exactly something that would be, lacking in possible things to do. And to be honest, it's just Italy tends to get overlooked. So, I mean, there'd be, I think, plenty of content just to dig in. And again, I kind of feel like just, trying to then take on North Africa and Tunisia would just be like being too greedy. Again, it just sort of run into the issue of companies who help, which again, it was just trying to cover too much in an RTS that, doesn't particularly, do covering large periods of time. It's sort of more focused on specific, campaigns and engagements, not, huge chunks of the war. That's not really what Company of Heroes 2 does well with, its more tactical focus. So in that regard, I do feel like, again, just a more focused choice would be the better choice for Relic, to be honest, rather than just, again, trying to just cover everything. Because sure, it sounds cooler, but just because it sounds cool doesn't mean it becomes cooler, because it can lead to a bit of the mess we got with the Company of Heroes campaign, which one of its primary issues was it just tried to cover too much, like, from the beginning of the war to the end of the war. There was, like, no real, focus, no concentration. Again, if you sort of just, look at the successful, Companies 2 campaigns, of Companies 1 campaigns, they were pretty much just all focused. They're incredibly, just on the point, laser focused on what they want. So, in that regard, I really do think they should just, definitely cut off Operation Dragoon no matter what. That one just doesn't fit in remotely, but just even then, just Italy and all that, I think that would be pushing it too much. I mean, that's practically a game on its own, and Italy being in North Africa and so on there. I think that could practically be a game on its own. I mean, at most you could maybe do it with an expansion, but even then that might be, pushing a bit much. But that probably the best choice, sort of start with Italy and then you can maybe expand into Tunisia sort of as an add-on. Or maybe the other way around, I don't know. But, as a rule of thumb, don't, bite off more than you can chew. And Companies 2, with the campaign they showed, you can easily end up biting off way too much. And I do think that was one of the major issues of the Companies 2 as a whole. I think there was too much ambition. Too much ambition. So that's sort of my thoughts on that subject matter. Because, again, I mean, I do think Italy could be really fun. Again, I do feel it's very overlooked, but still offers a lot of unique opportunities and challenges and whatnot, which could always just be fun. Plus, I mean, hell, they even planned actually to do Companies expansion in Italy for Companies 1, but was cancelled because of, the ever-loathed Companies Online. So that's another little fun note there. Another reason to dislike Companies Online, if you didn't dislike it already, it actually prevented this Companies from getting an Italian expansion, which could have been, I think, pretty fun. And again, that way, again, I mean, just doing this expansion could also work out, say, for Companies 3, again, just do North Africa, and then with expansion in there. But again, I think just trying to do it in one, jump is too much, in my personal opinion. So there goes sort of another sort of campaigns and explored again, and more focusing on the Italian, because again, I mean, North Africa, Italy, I mean, that probably also just more of a video of its own, to be honest, because again, they're like, to an extent they feel more separate. I mean, Italy and Tunisia are probably closer than North Africa and Italy, and really, like, Libya, for example, yeah, it's more 1942 stuff, and at that point, again, there's like large shifts in equipment available and, technology. So I mean, definitely that one should be separate, but Tunisia, you can sort of make the argument for it. You can sort of make the argument for it, but I'll probably do that in another video. So there you go. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, sort of again, sort of more just discussing the practicality of these things rather than just focusing on it, because I already made a video sort of more specifically discussing it, and I sort of went through some of the points here. But I mean, overall, again, I do think Italy has a lot there. Again, you can sort of get Panthers, Nashorns, Tiger tanks, but also older Panzer IIIs, Lees, Grants, older sorts of tank destroyers from the Americans and the British. It'll be sort of a nice mix of equipment, and again, some very unique, features, and plus some unique German elite units and Italian elite units you can sort of, pop in there. So that'd be a lot of fun. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, subscribe, like, share, comment, And of course, if you'd like to do consider donating or pledging on Patreon. This is Imperial Dancing Cheers, and a big thanks to all those who already do pledge on Patreon. You're a lot assistant after keep doing this on a daily basis. So thank you all, and see you all for another video. Cheers.